Tonight, someone finds out their fate. Their journey may end, but their name will forever be remembered as tribute in honor of the gods of racing. A noble end that each and every racer could only imagine happening to someone else. Before glory can be bestowed, sacrifices must be paid. That is the price. And as the fight for the chalice continues, one driver will await what must be done. Last we left off, James Ironbeard continued to sit atop the leaderboard, followed closely by Zarnak and Boog. Well, time is running out for Jax J, and we're still not sure where the cut line will fall. It all depends on how these final 9 drivers perform. Leading the charge tonight is Papa Pugsley from Tarmacia. He's back for his second Freezie500, and the Elder Statesman is hoping to put a new twist on this competition in his number 72 Torque Twister. Yet another new face of the trail is Fat Dad from Zemeckis. The Metallic Man's main goal is to prove that you don't need a fancy paint scheme to be fast, and he's got the weight of the world to back him up. Farrakhan is a world of iron and rust, and this next driver is one of the world's premier bards. Songs of his name carry on the wind wherever he goes. What will the history books say about his run tonight? Here's Iron Poet. The hour has come for Group 9. There is no room for error. It's all about the points now. Race 1 goes right now. Just when you think race 1 is going to be a nice clean race, Fat Dad pushes Manchild Motorsports driver Papa Pugsley into the guardrail. Iron Poet looks like he plans on joining that party but thinks otherwise, and then gets punished for it as his clip gets stuck in the snow after the jump. Papa Pugsley's trying to wrestle with his torque twister and he gets stuffed in the berm. The overhead shows just how little room Fat Dad gave Papa Pugsley, and it also shows how Iron Poet's clip gets just swallowed by the seam after the jump. And the victor of that melee is Fat Dad, as he's able to get his car pointed in the right direction with enough momentum to put himself across the line. Race 2 is disastrous for these drivers. Iron Poet and Papa Pugsley get into each other and bang doors as soon as the gate drops, and I don't know what happens to Fat Dad. He just has to shut her down after running into the guardrail. Iron Poet again gets nose heavy and plunges into the seam after the jump, while Papa Pugsley again gets dancy in his torque twister and puts it on its lid. Somebody's gonna have to give these guys something to drink because their nerves are way too fragile for them to keep doing this in order to make the next round. Whether or not somebody took my advice, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, as Fat Dad and Iron Poet make it down the rest of the course, while Papa Pugsley, he is done. Iron Poet finally lands the jump after a bit of a sketchy trial, and Fat Dad has eyes only on the finish line. I'm sure that's going to be a relief to both camps, as both drivers look like they've picked up the maximum points they can for this race. And as we confirm with the overhead cam, we can see Fat Dad come across the line, and we can see Iron Poet just get a wheel, touching that red line for a desperately needed 10 points. How this is going to shake up with the rest of the scores, we're only going to have to wait and find out. And Even though he bookended that heat with full points, I'm sure Fat Dad would love a mulligan in that second race. Although the man from Zarmacia has proven he can get his car across the line, his 24 points put him even with Jay Arrett, while Iron Poet is just going to have to sweat it out the next 2 races to see if his 20 points will make the cut. Papa P, on the other hand, must be thanking his racing gods he didn't slip any further down than what he did. The next driver escaped an experimental Techmortal laboratory where he was used to literally enhance race vehicles. Laying low in stolen Techmortal merch ain't easy, but Scooter Roundwell has opened his nerve hammers up to the job. And another unfortunate victim of Techmortal, Lone Star rolls in from his new home in Delta Eris in his Bully Goat. It's always good to see another racer from Earth that was here at the trail. Completing this trio is Her Royal Highness from Moparnia, Patty May. Patty hasn't let her royal bloodline prevent her from racing her chariot Roger Dodger 2.0, but this may be the first time her jewel of a vehicle may not survive. This group is as diverse as you can get in terms of background. Will that have any impact on how these drivers finish? Let's find out. Race 1 goes right now. Well, who says speed is everything? Obviously, Scooter Roundwell's found that out the hard way, as he has a blistering launch out of the gate, but unfortunately has a terrible landing after the jump. Lone Star, on the other hand, just slowly plods his way along, and you can see how Patty May bounces her way all the way to the jump and then absolutely slams on top of Scooter Roundwell. Scooter Roundwell is just stalled out after the jump and is just in prime spot for being clobbered. Mind you, the ex-Techmortal science experiment might be used to that type of thing anyways. Whether or not there's any collusion between the Monarch from Moparnia and Techmortal is still up for debate. Lone Star is actually able to pick a clean line down that one side and rides it all the way to the finish line for 11 points. Patty May and Scooter are going to have to find another way to get points if they want to make the next round. Wow, and the man from Delta Aries has definitely shown he will not be pushed around. Patty May gets into him just after the gate drops and is on him the entirety of the top half of the course. They're in lockstep to the jump, and then Lone Star gets up and under Patty May, putting her on her lid, and he runs again for another 11 points. You saw the result of Scooter landing after the jump, and that's not going to put him in a very good standing going into the next round. But the highlight of the night is definitely Lone Star getting underneath Patty May and sending her on her lid. Seems that being upside down set Patty May for a little bit of a loop because she does not have a good lap in lap 3. Lone Star and Scooter Roundwell, on the other hand, they have a really good launch, and unfortunately, Scooter Roundwell drives Lone Star into the guardrail, and both of them stall out just after the jump. It looks like Patty May's hungry for a little bit more car crunching action as she bounces up, but just shy of crunching Lone Star's rear bumper. And Lone Star makes it look easy as he pushes his way to the top of the leaderboard, matching Boog's score at 28. Anytime you can escape a heat race with back-to-back full poles will always put you in a good standing moving forward. And that heat wasn't at all easy, seeing how the Princess of Moparnia had her shiny chariot poised to crunch the competition. Scooter may want to turn in that stolen tech, as he may have just been victimized again by a Techmortal trick. The time has come for the final group, and look who's in Group 11. All eyes will be on this group and this driver in particular. He's back, and with the events of last year still fresh in the minds of all the drivers, the games are all well and truly afoot. Mr. Dark comes from the deep darkness of space in his mod rod. Not fazed by his dubious opponent, Bolo rolls into the trail from Verglasia. This world may be known better for its building techniques than its racing prowess, but that hasn't stopped Bolo from putting together this racing machine. The final driver for this opening round lost it all to Mr. Dark last year, and as luck would have it, he's been drawn into Mr. Dark's group again this year. Triple B has had to pick up the pieces of his nebula after Mr. Dark destroyed it with a black hole. Let's hope no black holes open up this year. This is it. After this group, we will know who makes the second round and who is getting spiked. The last group of round 1 goes right now. I have a strange feeling about this group. There seems to be some weird voodoo going on, and I know exactly who's to blame. The agent of chaos himself, Mr. Dark, finds himself as the only one who makes it across the jump there. And somehow I feel like he's not even looking for the finish line. He pulls up after the jump, and I'm sure he's thinking about how his mind games have affected the other two drivers. Race 2 is all about the guts and determination by the man from the Shredder Nebula. Mr. Dark goes in for the kill and throws a savage block on Triple B, but it's unsuccessful as Triple B pushes him off and does everything he can to get his car down across the line. He even takes a run at Bolo, and unfortunately Bolo's caught short. Bolo's in cruise control thinking he's got this race locked up, while Triple B comes along and absolutely blindsides him. I'm sure Bolo's wondering where the hell Triple B came from, because Bolo was halfway down the bottom half of the course before Triple B put on the afterburners and put him in his place. This should have been a runaway victory for Triple B, but unfortunately after the victory of last race, he just can't keep it together and throws it all away after he bounces himself out of contention after the jump. In fact, each of these drivers have a really tough time landing this jump, and unfortunately it's going to reflect in the scores as we go forward. Triple B had a lot riding on this race, and it doesn't look like Mr. Dark has any qualms about making the man from the Shredder Nebula think twice about racing him again. And I don't think this rivalry is done by any stretch of the imagination. I get a sense that Mr. Dark was merely toying with Bolo and Triple B in those races. It didn't seem that he was interested in getting down the course, but more like terrorizing his opponents. The mind games had a dramatic effect on the final scores for this group, as none will make the cut for round 2. And speaking of, with the results of Group 11, the top 18 drivers have made the cut into round 2. This means that the drivers who have scored 20 or more points have all qualified and will live to race another day. The results of Group 11 also have ramifications for Jax J. Not only has he been eliminated from the competition, but he has finished dead last, and therefore he has the honor and distinction of being the Freezie500's offering to the racing gods. 18 drivers will now fight it out for the privilege of not only taking home the glory of winning the Freezie, but also of being the one who offers said sacrifice. Until such time, Jax J will be held until a champion is crowned. With such a prize now afforded, I expect all the drivers will be refocusing their energies into the next phase of the tournament. The opening round of the Freezie500 has not disappointed. However, we have yet to see a perfect score. The top of the leaderboard is crowded, and that's a good thing. 17 drivers will attempt to surpass our leader, James Ironbeard, who will do everything in his power to hold on to that number 1 spot. That's it from round 1. We'll see you again next time.
You may be thinking that this is the end of the road for you. Well, you're right, it is. But have no fear, you won't be going alone.